Oh.
The people at Apple have a lot to answer for. They're evil, they've done it enough. Right, so I guess because we're now starting the recording again, would you like to introduce yourself for me?
Sure. Hi guys, I'm Funmi. I'm 26. I've just finished my master's in data science, so I'm just chilling over the Christmas break until I start my job in Jan. That's me. I love Jesus. I love God. I'm Christian. Yeah, that's me.
I love that. Can you see how tidy that is? You finished your master's in December. You started your grad job in January. This is the kind of favor that people ask for. And yeah, Funmi also has a few degrees. She's a very, very smart babe.
No,
they must know.
When you say 3 degrees, what degrees are we talking about?
So I did my undergrad in medical science, and then I did a master's in psychology, and then I did a postgraduate diploma in social work whilst working as a social worker. And I was like, actually, let's move into data science. So yeah, I've done a couple of things.
Wow. That's variety.
I can't lie. You're the type of like child that my mom will be like,
oh my days.
You've seen what she's doing. Why aren't you doing that?
Hit her back with comparison is the thief of joy, mom. How about that?
Can say, how many degrees do you have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's right. Obviously, we're not telling you to rebel against your parents. If you get slapped, don't come to us screaming or telling us. But yeah, we're here today. And we are going to be talking about a topic that I think it kind of took over the whole of 2020, because when we're all in lockdown, that's when people are like, I have loads of time, I'm going to upskill, I'm going to do all of these fun things. And we already talked about upskilling in the episode that we did with Philip and Anna. I believe that's episode, is it 47, 48?
48, it should be.
Yeah, 48. And obviously this year, if you've looked on Twitter, you would have noticed that a lot of people are going through different life changes. Some people are purchasing homes, signing contracts, you know, doing all sorts of things, like creating multiple sources of income. JIREH, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm okay. You know,
you're struggling.
All right.
It's not easy out here, you know. So when I'm seeing all these, I say, God, when?
I've come again, your humble servant.
Haven't you leveled up this year too? I mean, am I not right in thinking that there's been some big life changes?
And I just say, this is the first time a guest on the podcast has prompted JIREH to say this, because normally he will start the podcast with, I'm married. And obviously marriage is a beautiful thing. I guess it is a way of leveling up, right? You've gone from a different, I won't even say leveling up, it's just like you've just changed, right?
Yeah.
We're not putting marriage in a pedestal, we're just saying that you've transitioned into a different part of your life, you know, a different season, as Christians like to say. Christianese, honestly, everything's a season. But basically what prompted this topic,
but seasons come and go. This marriage is not going until death do us part. So
yeah, maybe we won't use that word. Love that. Love that.
Thank you. Bars. I could do one about, never mind. So if you've been on the Twittergram or the Twitter sphere, whatever you want to call it, you would have probably seen this video. If you've not been on Twitter, then I'll just explain it. So the video opens and it shows this man talking about how so the caption was like, this man got divorced because he got bored. But that's actually quite reductive. In the video, he didn't actually say he got bored. He basically said, I was in a happy, wonderful marriage for 5 years. There was nothing wrong. The marriage was, and to use his words, incredible. There were no issues, nothing. But he divorced his wife because he wanted to level up. He said where he was going.
Can I just stop you there? How incredible can it actually be if that's what you're... Because
the internet will not let us speak right today because JIREH has frozen. I'm sure when his internet fixes up, he'll come back. How many episodes is it that we've had internet issues? Not 1, not 2, but 3.
Sorry.
Hopefully we'll be resuming in-person recording sometime next year when Bojo lets us out. but yeah, Jiri did, who was going to make a really good point. How good can the marriage really be if you're wanting to escape? But in the video, he goes on to say, if you want to make it in this life, if you want to get to the next level, you need to be selfish. You need to cut people off. This is the bit I'm adding. Like, you need to essentially strip off any weight that's kind of holding you down, so you can free yourself and be able to fly as high as the sky. And this is something that I'm noticing quite often in the topic of leveling up. What do you think, for me? I think you've seen that video. When you saw it, what was your reaction? Did it make you think?
I was just a bit shocked, or maybe not even shocked. Shocked isn't maybe the right word. Like, you know that this is how people think, but that was a really wild, like, in your face, brazen version of it. And like JIREH said, like, how can you say that the marriage was good and incredible if you're like, yeah, I want to level up? What is it that you're looking for? What is it that your perception of marriage is? It just indicates to me already a completely wrong perception and understanding and grounding of what marriage is supposed to be.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. I think I think what was most shocking to me was when I was looking in the comments and people were saying stuff like, well, you guys are always talking about how you should, not let people hold you down, and you should be able to, like I said, fly as high as the sky. And I was like, oh, like, how do you level up on someone? What does that actually mean? So yeah, that's what we're going to discuss today. We're going to discuss leveling up, what it is, because I feel like it's an abstract concept that people talk about. I'm going to level up, I'm going to do this, but they don't really go into the details of what leveling up is. And actually what it means to be content, and also what it means to hunger and strive at the same time. So I guess let's just kind of take it back a little bit. So you're 26, I'm 25, JIREH is also 26. So I think we're all like, and most of our listeners are probably around the same age as well, where we're in that phase where people are making moves, right? Career moves, retraining, buying houses. A lot of homes we're seeing, people buying houses, people getting married, people having kids. Everyone's going through different transitions in their life, and that's kind of what we see online. Like when you go on Twitter, you usually have someone saying, oh, I manifested, or I said that I was going to purchase a house by the time I'm 23, and here I am. Or I've just not built, but like I've bought my own shop and I'm 18 years old, and this is a dream I've been working on. And I just wanted to kind of get your point of view. Do you think there's a pressure to become an adult quickly? Like to grow up quickly? Do you feel like that's a pressure, or is that just kind of everyone else is doing it, and that's just what life is?
I think it's kind of like almost an unspoken, it is actually a spoken pressure, because everyone's on social media, right? You see everyone's best life, if that makes sense. Like everyone's putting forward their best foot on social media. So you're seeing, no one's showing you the tough nights or the tough things behind the scenes. They're only showing the fun stuff, like, yeah, look, I've got this house, I bought this new car, da 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 da. So I think everyone has this perception of what is going on in everyone else's lives and in their age mate's life. And it's hard to not feel like, if you've not got some of those things, or if you're at this level whilst other people are at another level, it's hard to not feel like you're a bit behind, or that you're slacking somehow.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you said, we live in this age of highlights where people just show their highlights. And obviously, I do the same.
Yes,
I think
we all do the same. Me too. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, no, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And I don't want people on my Instagram to see me suffering and toiling every night. That's what my close friends is for. That's like what my day-to-day life is for. And I think because obviously everyone just shows their highlights, you really have to step back and think, how is this impacting me? Because sometimes, like I remember speaking to one of my friends, and she was doing this thing where she was like, I remember she spoke to me, she was like, when she started her master's, she was looking forward to when she'll post, like, I've completed it, 2 degrees down, or is it 2 degrees up?
I'm not even gonna lie, I had my post for the day I submitted my dissertation saved in my drafts, ready to go. So the minute I hit submit, I also hit post. So I can relate.
She was
I'm
like,
not gonna lie.
10 has accepted your submission. Instagram will see the upload. But that's absolutely true. And I guess, I don't know why we've been conditioned to be that way, because oftentimes I think we all know that a lot of it is, I won't say an illusion, but a lot of it is, like you said, you know, the highlights, and that doesn't really help anyone else in the sense of no one really sees maybe the step you've taken, or I guess the move and silence brigade, because they're scared of what the haters might say. But I think it's important that as we even engage in this, we also think about, what are we putting out there? You know, is it so that people can see us and be like, oh, this person achieved this and this and this? What do we gain from that? Because I think sometimes we might post certain things or say certain things for that dopamine rush, so that someone can encourage us, or so that someone can type in, I'm trying to be like you, you know, under the Instagram caption. And I actually see this in the, like, I don't want to use the word the youngers, because that sounds like something a drug dealer would say, but like but like the younger generation, because I remember when I was growing up, my parents gave me a Nokia, like, it's not 3310, is the one that came after it. So it's not like the solid blue one, it's like the smaller light blue one. And I had that phone till I was like in year 9, year 10.
Wow.
And I couldn't take pictures on it. I had no credit. Remember the days of credits? Credit.
Wow, the struggle.
No credit on it. My dad gave it to me just so I could call 999 if I ever needed any sort of emergency help. And what it just made me think is, obviously for the kids these days, they have the same things that a working person would have. Like, they have the same phones. Some of them have really nice cars when they get 16 or 17 or even 18.
Clothes,
you know,
laptop.
People are wearing like Brazilian, Malaysian, all the bundles to school. People are wearing lashes. And a part of me is like, do we think, I guess, do we have a part to play in how the younger generation are growing up? Because obviously if that's their reality, then obviously they're used to it. But do you feel like they're missing out, or do you think they're actually more switched on than we are?
You know, I can't lie. I personally think the struggle humbles you and prepares you for adulthood. Because honestly, sometimes I look at, like, let's say my prom photos and the dusty weave and the the not cute dress. Like,
can't lie, my parents didn't let me have box braids or like any or weave at all till even during sixth form. So I would have my hair, you know, like the braids you put underneath, like wigs, just plaits. That was my that was my daily
that was
one.
The hair.
But I remembered, like, if my stepmom would do like a design where like it suits over my forehead, like the ones that come forward, I would swoop it like this, yeah, and I put a clip so it could look like a bang, because that was the in thing. And I was like, you needed to compromise, and you needed to think outside the box to try and
make it cute,
fit in. Continue. You were saying about prom. I never went to my prom. I had no business being there.
No, but like, I was just saying how I think, I don't know, it's kind of twofold, because it's not that I want the younger generation to struggle. That's not, there isn't, we don't all need to be struggling and suffering and always wanting stuff. But also I think it's important to know sometimes what it is to not have everything you want, if that makes sense, to learn how to work and value things. I do think there's a risk of them becoming a bit too, just having things too soon, or being exposed to things too soon and missing out on like working for things or learning how to properly value things. Yeah.
And you know what's so funny, because I think, like, when I was like, as a 25-year-old, when I see like my little sister and the things that she wants, and when she sends me like a Christmas list, and I look at the items on there and I'm like, no, you're a child, you can't have that. And then I thought, wait, growing up, other people must have seen our generation and been like, no, you're a child. And it just makes me think, like, in 10 years time, because a lot of people around us are either getting married or having kids, and you're thinking, what would the world be like during that time, where I guess no one really there's no room, there's no forgiving space for you to grow up and like go through that awkward phase where you try things and they don't work, because it seems that everyone is like on it from the age of 14, right? People are like, oh, I want to have this car, I want to earn this much at such a young age. And I think yeah, I think what I find most like stressful, it stresses me out thinking about it, is will they get to go through the phase where they just make mistakes? Will they get to go through the phase where, you know, where, what's that word I'm looking for? Where they can just be kids. I remember, I think I saw something online. It was talking about how, like, because the current generation, we have telephones, so everyone has Instagram, everyone has Twitter. If you do something bad in school, it will end up on the internet. And it's like the previous generations, the doctors, the lawyers, the engineers, they could make mistakes in peace because no one was
left in the past. Yeah.
Thank you. It was left in the past. No one captured it. It wasn't going to ruin their future. But obviously, we'll go through phases online where people would dig up tweets from people when they were like 11, 12, 13-year-olds. Granted, some of the tweets are problematic, but you can also understand that these are children. They were children. Yep, they can make mistakes. They all say all sorts of horrible things to each other or do horrible things to each other. But nowadays, because everything is so out there, it just kind of removes that part from the grown-up experience.
Yeah, it's like, where's the grace to make mistakes, basically? Where's the space for error? This is not a safe space, basically.
You know what's so bad is I say that often all the time when I know that people are going to say something problematic. I'm like, this is not a safe space. So if you're watching online, you see that JIREH is thankfully been able to join us. I'm just going to give a quick recap summary. I
just want to talk to Apple. Yeah. Sort out your laptops, okay? I have paid money for a new M1 Pro. You can't keep doing this to me, all right? You better fix up. I'll come to the Apple store and one of your geniuses will feel the genius.
So JIREH just clenched his fist. I should also say that the views of JIREH Entry are not in line with the views of Second Nature Podcast, because one day, if Apple was to sponsor us and we want to do hashtag ads, we're going to have to delete this portion of the recording, just so that they know that we're in alignment, and we've always been in alignment with their views. Okay? I say this as I'm recording on my MacBook and I've got my iPhone.
Wow.
They need to know. So basically what we're talking about was how the younger generation are, I guess, growing up quite quickly. Not quickly, because I hate that word, because it makes it seem as if there's something wrong specifically with them. But in terms of how they don't seem to go through the growing up phase that we all went through, how there's not really much room to make mistakes. And maybe it's just nostalgia, us like seeing what it's like to grow up and play outside and not have to worry about things. It's like, you're gonna miss out. Do you have any thoughts, JIREH, before we move on?
I don't know about growing up too quickly. I just feel like when we were kids, and we're all in the same year group, we just didn't have the technology like they have now, and we didn't have the access to like social media or phones like we had. Like, most of us probably had a phone sometime in high school. And even then, you couldn't even do FaceTime. Like, Snapchat wasn't a thing. You have to, you either had a BBM or you didn't, and then you weren't in that club. And then, even then, you had to send...
I was never in that club. I wanted to be in that club.
Same.
I wanted to have a pin. You know, the ones where you're like, oh, what's your pin?
Yeah, yeah. When people used to ask me what's my pin, I said, I don't have the capacity for one. I don't have one, but you can have my number. It's like, no.
Same.
Yeah. And then even then, before then, I remember in like year 7, we had MSN before that.
Oh my God.
Hotmail? Come on. I can't lie, my email is still Hotmail.
Like, people that are listening to this who are probably like, what, 4 or 5 years younger than us are thinking, wow, this is like there's like a gap in between us already, and we're not even like old. So we were like kind of like the last generations that got to see things or play outside. You know, we weren't enslaved to technology, but then we became so when we were in high school, sort of. So growing up for this generation, I feel like they're just competing with fully grown adults. So leveling up to them is, I don't want to be a teenager. I want to be 18 plus. I want to be able to do whatever Kim Kardashian is doing, whatever Kylie Jenner is doing. I want to have all the sickest trainers that all these rappers are wearing, because some of their friends are rappers that are making it quickly. So they're thinking, well, if he can do it, then I must be able to do it. But like everything, it requires work, and there's actual effort that's to be put into it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. Oh, did you want to say something for me?
No, but I'm just thinking as well, like, compared to our generation, I don't know, maybe I can only speak for myself, but I remember growing up, most kids, our goals and aspirations wasn't to be a rapper or an Instagram influencer, like the things we were aspiring to is very different.
When did
wasn't a
Instagram
thing.
come out?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think our goals and ambitions and aspirations were very different to what I think a lot of the younger generations might be now. Not to say that the aspirations the younger generation have now are wrong. It's just, I guess, a very different world, and the opportunities and options are different.
Yeah.
But I just think it's interesting to see those differences.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think as a Gen Z, yeah, I was born in 1996. Gen Z started there.
Okay.
Oh, brother, here we go.
What are you guys again?
Are you comfortable? Are you proud to be a Gen Z?
Absolutely. I'm with the young kids, you
I'm
know.
95.
High five, Lil whatever. Yar. No, I definitely understand what you mean. I think it, with the rise of social media, it has definitely made things just more accessible. And it seemed like, but I think what really stood out to me about what JIREH said was the fact that everyone seems to be competing with each other. It's not like you're a 40-year-old competing against a 40-year-old. It's like those lines are very much now blurred, where it's just kind of like you jump in and you just scrap and you battle it out, and you know, whoever gets an ad deal here or a sponsor deal here, everyone just goes in their own direction. And I think sometimes because the field is so undefined, like the way the world is going, you're not really sure what roles are being created or whatever, what the future would look like. I think sometimes as someone who, like you guys, grew up with a very linear idea of what my future would look like, that's anxiety inducing, because it's like, now we have the metaverse and that's going to create a whole bunch of different types of jobs. And you're like, in 10 years, would that be relevant with the way that the world is moving? But basically, we're still on the topic of leveling up. So everyone is trying to level up. I try to level up by learning coding, by doing a course in computing in IT. Anyone who knows me personally will know that I hate it. I hate it. I can't stress enough. I hate it. I hate it
3
so
times,
much.
4 times.
I hate it so much that I don't study. You didn't know?
I know you hated it
now
this
you
much.
Know. Now you know. I can't even lie in an interview and be like, I love coding. No, now I don't. But that was all in the line of like, oh, go into this field because that's where the money's at. Don't get it twisted. I'm still going to enter that field, just not through the technical side because that's not for me. Exactly. I'm going to try and chase the bag. And oftentimes when we hear about people leveling up, it's usually for some sort of financial gain, right? Do we think, and I guess being the woke generation, because apparently the word woke is a bit of a slur now. If you call someone, well, maybe in the far right groups, if you call someone woke, that's like you dragging them through the mud. And so we're very much, and so we're very much aware of like capitalism and, you know, the pitfalls and the pros of it. But I guess, are we any different from the previous generation when it comes to capitalism and leveling up? Because you never really hear about people leveling up in any other area of their life, aside from financial gain and what that can get for us.
I'll let Funmi go first.
Okay. I think you're right. I definitely, when I hear leveling up, the first thing that comes to my mind is financial. Like that's what people tend to talk about it in relation to most. Wait, did you say are we different from the older generation?
Yeah,
in the sense
because the way we talk about, like, for example, you know, with global warming, for example, and we're like, oh, the previous generation did this, they didn't have any concern for the environment, they knocked down Wall Street because of capitalism.
Yeah,
are we different?
If anything, I think it's probably even the older generation that has instilled in us that we need to work hard, we need to have money, we cannot, you know, I brought you to this, for those of us that are like second generation immigrants, like I brought you to this country so that you know, you'll have the opportunity so that you won't have to struggle like I did, You need to have security and finances. So if anything, I think I can only again speak from my perspective. I think that the desire to have financial wealth was more instilled from them. So yeah, I don't know necessarily that we're any different from them. That's my perspective.
That's a strong allegation for me.
I don't think we're any different in them in ideology. The only difference is our experience. So the older generation actually got a lot of things handed to them. And I always talk about like housing prices here in the UK. Wages used to be around like what, 9, 10K. And you're thinking, whoa, that's really low. But then average house in like the 80s, like 70s, 80s, 90s was around what, 30 to 40K. So it was affordable for them to be able to buy it. Now our wages might have tripled, but housing prices have like driven up by 100 times over. So it's
inflation
not anymore. So in that sense, leveling up in the older generation, they do so when they're already settled. So it's easy for them to level up. Like you have your money, you have your cash, you have your kids. And like Funmi said, even if you're if you're a second generation immigrant, your parents will be working hard in order to get to the level that people who are born here are already at. Yeah. So for us, it's like, as the children of those immigrants, it's like double pressure. Like we have to do something. We have to amount to something because, you know, it can't be in vain. It can't be null and void. And even then, I think about us as Christians, we still subscribe to that. Like we want that. We want the finer things in life. You know, we don't want to suffer. We want the money. You know, we want the wealth.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, suffering was not meant for me. Like obviously we're meant to suffer well as Christians, but financial suffering is not something I want to ever go through in my life. And so I guess because, like, you know, we've already talked about how when we think about leveling up, it seems to be in finances. What other ways in our lives can we actually level up? Because obviously no one listening to this is like, I want to struggle every single day financially. I want to be poor. I want to wear burlap sack and be like John the Baptist. And, you know, and not have like secure housing. We all want to be comfortable. But if we all say that we're going to be on this journey of leveling up, right? Because it's not necessarily a bad thing. Obviously, point back to that man who divorced his wife because he wanted to level up. He admitted it himself. To level up in this life, you need to be selfish.
Greedy and selfish, he said.
Sorry?
Greedy.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. There's like one of the 7 deadly sins, but that's a different situation. As Christians, I'm hoping if you're listening, you're Christian. Or if you're not, well, now you know. That's not really what our goal is, to by any means possible to jump over people and to crush them just to get to our goal. So aside from finances, what other ways can we level up?
There are so many different aspects of our lives that we should be aspiring to level up in. Like, okay, let's start with a really easy, obvious one, character, right? Like as Christians, we're supposed to be striving to look more and more like Christ on a daily basis. So we should be trying to, with his help and the Holy Spirit helping us, we should be trying to look more like him. So developing patience, long-suffering, kindness, being, you know, do you know those kind of things? Like just the way you speak to people, the way you treat people. So a really obvious one, but one that we don't necessarily always pay attention to is our character.
That's very, very true. At Bible study yesterday, we were talking, so Funmi and I go to Bible study in Manchester, and we were talking yesterday about how it's not often that you compliment someone on their character or like the character growth you've seen in them. So sometimes it might be, oh, I like the dress you're wearing, or I like your nails, or what, congratulations on that new job. But like if you see someone being patient with someone, you're like, it's not often you pull them to the side and say, or not even pull them to the side. I think you should like give people their flowers out loud. But like, you know, I really admire the way you're patient with that person. I really admire the way you thought about that. It's not often that we actually put like proper weight on the things of God. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. What else?
I don't know, but can I just skirt back to that video? I don't understand what he meant by upgrading relationship. Because how do you upgrade your relationship? You generally work on your relationship. So what is an upgrade, and what does like an upgrade look like in a relationship?
A woman with a
Would
BBL.
say, BBL.
Sorry, I'm kidding.
Some guys would say, oh yeah, I took a girl who was a 5 out of 10. I got a 10 out of 10. I said, but that's on the outward appearance. That's nothing to do with even inward character or development or anything like that. And even then, you're being very subjective based on beauty. So like, what is an upgrade in a relationship? I generally don't know. I've heard people say upgrade your friends. I said, well, I'm sorry, are your friends like an old model of the iPhone that you need to get a new one? I don't get it. People are people. So yeah.
What do you think for me? I think, actually, can I say, in the video, he said he wanted to upgrade. No, he said he wanted to go to the next level and he wanted to upgrade, but he didn't say that he was going to enter a new relationship. He just said the reason why he left his old relationship. But then we can still answer the question in terms of what would an upgraded relationship look like? Would it be with a woman who's got, I don't know,
a BBL?
A BBL, yes. A woman who's got 7 million. Tell us, for me.
I'm not him. I don't know what he was thinking, but I'm just wondering, can you not upgrade within your relationship together, like develop together, build each other up? Like, can you not? I just wonder, what is it that he's looking for out there? What is it that is missing?
Well, you know what was more interesting is like when you went into the quote tweets, people said, oh, I agree with him. Oh, he didn't say anything wrong. There's nothing wrong about what he said. And I was just thinking to myself, is this like what we've got into? Like, people think marriage is just like a normal relationship. You just jump in and jump out when you feel like it's convenient for you to no longer be a part of it. So I'm like, so what's the point of you doing all this on your wedding day, saying your vows, just for you to go, well, listen, I'm not feeling it anymore. You know what I'm saying? Bye.
Like
Can I play? Oh, no,
go on. I was just going to say it.
I was going to say something. No, you say what you want to say, because I was going to say something that.
Okay.
Your man, I like.
I was just going to say, it's like such a non-committal generation that we live in. Like, people don't want to commit to anything. And marriage is like, you know, the
bedrock.
It's such a, yeah. And people are so ready to quickly just throw that away. Scary. It's really sad.
What I was going to say is,
ARAMIDE, if you're about to come and tell me something about like adultery and abuse,
no, what the heck?
Why you should be able to leave a marriage.
Exactly.
Because I thought she was going to say there are reasons to leave a marriage, and I was going to say,
no, I'm not going to. No, see, when you assume, you make an ASS of you.
Wow.
Exactly. I was not going to say that at all. What I was going to say is, I think sometimes people have this, we've all seen it, this mentality of like, if you want to go far, you need people around you who are also on that journey. So for example, if let's say as a person, you want to move to New York and want to make it big, but all your friends are like, oh, we want to stay where we are. We're happy with what we've got. You know, we're happy with our jobs. We don't want to do this. Like, the lifestyle that you're wanting to go into is just not compatible with them as a person or whatever, which is not a bad thing. Some people will then say, oh, wow, you need to leave those groups of people and find the people who are also on the same journey as you, right? Find your tribe. And so if you think about it, for example, if let's use YouTube influencers as an example, not saying names, but you will know that they flock together.
Yeah.
They flock together. It starts with doing collabs together on video, then they spend every day together because those people are on that same journey. They know what it's like to spend, 6, 7, 8 hours editing each video, looking online for tricks to do on, Premiere Pro. They'll understand, why they'll gas you when you have lots of ads and sponsorships, when as a viewer, you're like, I just want to watch a video of you recommending something and you not doing too much because you've been paid to like funnel it down our throats, right? And so those people are more likely to, I guess, cleave from their current friendship groups or current community and then attach themselves to another one where everyone gets what they're doing. So in the context of like, I guess this video of relationships, I think we can all agree that the sanctity of marriage is missing in modern society. That's not something new. I saw a terrible video of what appeared to be a naked woman at her wedding, stripping.
Sorry.
If you've seen it, I don't look for it because it will ruin your day.
When you sent me that video, I just said, it is what it is. She's at her wedding. What do you want her to do? I'm so
Children.
sorry. There might be children there. Okay. We can say something about that, but she's getting married. Like, it's not like she's doing this outside of her wedding day. Like, where do you want her to do it? In a bedroom? Okay.
No, JIREH, stop.
No,
you know what's wrong with that video?
Because you know when you sent it to me, I just said, oh, it is what it is. You know, this is their wedding day. They want to remember it. Yeah. Each to their own. At least they're getting married.
Okay, pause that. That wasn't the point I was making. I was just saying, typically, you would, when you go to a wedding, you don't expect to see the bride's naked body. You don't expect to see her. She was wearing jewels. Anyway, you can, you know what, if you happen to come across the video, you can come up with your own understanding of that video. You know, it's fine. But I don't expect to see someone like dragging their genitalia on the floor, and it was just a bit too much, right? So we can all agree that the sanctity of, I guess maybe what our idea of what marriage is, or biblical marriage, is no longer adhered to by a non-believing society, which makes perfect sense. So the only way I can rationalize what that man did was, well, maybe he wanted a woman who was the kind to maybe launch a business, and maybe his wife was, I'm quite happy with the way things are, or he's like, I want to be like a Fortune, I don't know, 500 business owner, and for me to do that, I don't know why you need to sacrifice your marriage to get there, but maybe I want to join a cult, and they said only single men can be part of this cult for riches. I'm so sorry. But that's all I can think of. Like, maybe he wanted to do something so drastic that his wife probably wouldn't agree with, or something like that, and it just wasn't conducive for the marriage. But yeah, all of that to say, people are leaving their current relationships and current friendships to pursue other ones that are more in line with where they want to be in the future.
My thoughts on that, like my mom growing up, she always used to tell me, like, so when I would leave one school and go to the next, or to the next stage, college, to uni or whatever, she'd always remind me, like, make new friends, but keep the old. And that's something that I really held on to, actually. Like, I genuinely made an active effort to keep my old friends, like, not, obviously, I've never had friends who I would, like, who you would consider wayward or, like, were leading me down a bad path anyway. But I really think it's important that we don't look at people for what can they do for me? How can they make my life better? How can, you know, like, how can they help me level up? Like, what about you? What are you offering to them? As Christians, we should be looking to build people up, to pour into each other, right? So I think it's really dangerous when you get into a mindset of, no, if you're not helping me make this amount of money, if you're not helping me get to this stage, get this house, get this car, you're gone. For me, that's a horrible mindset to have. And yeah, I don't like it. Sorry, run over.
No, that is absolutely true. Yeah, I think in the pursuit of greatness, people will cut away what they feel is unnecessary. And I think because we don't give this weight to relationships and people and things as they deserve, we just cut things off. But yeah, back to what we were saying. What other ways can people level up?
I don't know. It's like I said, every time I think of leveling up, I just think of money.
Speaking of that though, what about your health physically, like being active,
going to the gym, looking after yourself, you know, finding out what rest looks like to you, skincare, nail care, hair care, all of the cares. I mean, people do tend to level up in one way, which is usually they might have some sort of work done, or not okay, that sounds a bit negative. Like different types of, they might do something cosmetic, whether it's getting their lashes done, and that can be like their way of like, you know, looking nice and looking in trend. It could be, you know, a nip and tuck here and there. That's also ways that people choose to level up as well. Take that how you will. Also mentally, I've heard a lot of people obviously going to therapy, trying to unlearn. I can't lie, the people that are very loud with, I guess, with the concept of unlearning, they usually, I feel like it undoes a lot of things. Let me separate that. Therapy, stuff like that, excellent. But I've also seen that not also, full stop, next paragraph, when people unlearn a lot of things, I feel like it almost it undoes what people believe and what people think, in the sense of, I remember someone was talking about, she was like, after I did a lot of unlearning, I learned that everything in my life, including like the Christian faith, is all based on patriarchy. And if I hadn't grown up in this situation and I hadn't been molded in a certain way, and I hadn't been kind of brought down by patriarchy, I probably wouldn't, for example, be in a monogamous relationship. I probably wouldn't do this. I probably would do this. That can come with its good things and its bad things, but that is definitely one thing that I know a lot of people are doing in terms of mentality, is leveling up, is by unlearning a lot of what they know and then trying to come to an understanding of what their current situation is.
What, like deconstruction?
Yeah, deconstruction in the Bible and in the world as well.
I think with regards to that, it's just about having wisdom, right? It's that saying, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, yes, look at everything that you've learned growing up and all that's made you who you are today, and think about the things that have come to be a bit damaging or toxic or dangerous to your development, and put them aside. But that doesn't mean you throw out everything and that everything was wrong and everything was bad. Like, you don't need to go to the extreme.
I mean, we live in a generation of extremes. There is
True.
That's why even leveling up is never done in a incremental stages. It's always to the extreme. I must make 7 figures now, have 7 streams of income, or sell multiple businesses and call myself an entrepreneur. Like that's the generation that we're in. And I guess to go back to what you were saying about what the other things that you can level up, obviously you talked about health, and gymming is obviously a massive one, because the gym industry literally thrives on the fact that it tries to motivate people to level up. There's no two ways about it. And that's how the social media influencers, especially fitness influencers, have now started, photoshopping their pictures.
So can we unpack that for a second? Because I saw a terrible one where it was a fitness influencer and she was wearing bum pads. And I just thought, wait a minute. You're making money off telling people that your body is something that's achievable through hard work in the gym. So why you? Like, I get people who get BBLs and then they tell you they got BBL and then they go to the gym and then they're like, this is how I got this body. At least they tell you the before. They tell you the whole story. Like, all of this wasn't cooked in the oven of gym. But the fitness influencers that don't do that, that don't disclose, come on.
Yeah, so it's all about the angles, how you pose. On Photoshop, they can like you said, do a nip and tuck, but a photo one rather than a surgical one, so that the Instagram page always looks perfect. And unfortunately, like we said before, the younger generation sees this and thinks, oh, I need to get to this. First of all, the younger generation, especially teenagers, don't need to be doing that unless they play like some sort of sport that requires them to be incredibly athletic. And even then, they'll tailor them to not do too much. But even as adults, we look at that and we go, I guess I should stop eating these biscuits and chocolate and, maybe do some sit-ups or do some planks and maybe go for a walk, and maybe we'll see if it goes to jogging or not. But it's really damaging. And the fitness industry, like I said, is based on leveling up. And then we have Christian influencers who, unfortunately, in one hand, have Christian stuff that they talk about. In the other hand, show their material gains and leveling up in this world. And it makes other Christians think, me too, I need to be able to do this. There is a page on Instagram called Preachers and Sneakers, because I love trainers. I follow it. And you see a lot of pastors on that page with trainers that cost more than more than my rent. I'll say that. Yes, more than my rent on their feet.
Is that bad though? What if they're like a trainer enthusiast just like you, but now with their increased gain?
I understand that, but I don't think all of them are trainer enthusiasts. I think some of them, they've reached the finer things in life, and they're obviously splurging on stuff that are nice. Now, people might push back on this and say, well, there's nothing wrong with that. And I say, yes, you are correct. But why is it that there's also preachers who have money and don't do that, what they do?
I have to push back on that.
No, but I'm just saying that people see that.
Because they're different. They're different.
Yeah, but Christians see that and think, I must now also.
Please don't dull your shine, because some people, like, I would never say you should dull your shine. Sorry, Funmi, you speak.
I don't know. I think I'm more on, not that there's teams here, but I think I lean more to what JIREH is saying, because I like, this is the world, right? This is passing, this is fleeting, this isn't where our forever home is. Like, we don't need to be amassing possessions here and making other people feel like they need to be gaining these possessions here, otherwise they're not good enough. But at the same time, they're not responsible for what another Christian thinks they have to develop. That's for each individual to also be aware of what their heart is telling them. Like, if you're finding yourself feeling jealous of what somebody else has, that's a you problem, if that makes sense, and something for you to work on with God. So I see both sides.
Yeah, I'm pushing back on that. I personally think, because I think of myself, and I think the older I get, the more I realize that the things I like tend to cost a little bit more, like just better quality things. And, I have a very modest trainer collection, but God willing, it will be increasing. And I would like to enjoy the fruits of my labor, right? I'd like to, enjoy the things that I like. So if I like, nice trainers, I'll purchase them and I'll wear them. And, it's just something I like. Now, it's not my responsibility to then dull my shine. It's not my responsibility to not engage in the things I enjoy, because I'm scared that you're going to get jealous. Because by the virtue of anything, people will get jealous. If you have natural hair that is to your waist, someone will get jealous of you. Are you then going to shave your head? No, let me
say this.
Let me land.
Because the whole point is we're talking about leveling up, and unfortunately, leveling up requires the jealousy part.
Yeah, but I'm saying that as a person, should I now not do certain things that I want to do simply because I'm scared? No.
Delete your Instagram.
No, never. Because I think there's a lot of nuance in there. And I think a lot has to do with the way that we carry ourselves. Yes, some preachers will come with a polo shirt and some, I don't know, Levi jeans and I don't know, some Vans, and they'll preach and they'll walk away. But some people, they do like to dress up and they do like to be more extravagant with the way that they present themselves. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think if that bleeds into your preaching, if you now tell people
prosperity gospel, that's what it turns into.
Exactly, prosperity gospel. If, let's say, you pastor a church in an area where people aren't earning a certain amount of money, but because, I don't know, through tithe and offering, you've amassed certain wealth, and you're now coming into the pulpit and you dressed to the nines, in Cuban links and all sorts of things, then I'll have a problem with that.
Cuban links, what? Asking links, what?
But yeah. So I think it's really important that we balance it out and also look at the person's persona as well. Are they humble about it? Do you see their grafting? That kind of thing. I don't have a problem with it, unless, of course, if it's something totally like crazy. I know we've already talked about prosperity gospel, but we've seen preachers boast about how they purchased 2 jets in cash, and you're thinking, but why?
I mean, there seems to be a correlation between the people who are preaching prosperity and the drip that they're wearing. That's all I know. I said, correlation does not mean causation. A-level biology drilled that into me, you know, correlation, not mean causation, even psychology. But there's a very strong link. That's all I know. That's all I'm saying. And yeah.
Okay, so JIREH and Funmi are just generally a bit suspicious of preachers, or I guess Christian influencers who drip hard, and how they present themselves. But we can park that there. Let us know what your thoughts are. Should preachers, people in the Christian public eye, be able to dress in designer wear? Or should they
say
keep...
they shouldn't dress in designer?
Yeah.
What the heck? I think what's going on here? You're conflicting.
Different.
What are you doing?
Okay,
so I think you've already covered it, ARAMIDE. Like you said, like you have to look at their character. Are they humble about it? What is the thing that they're linking to? Are they saying that if you don't have this, you're not sacrificing enough, and you're not blessed, like da-da-da.
Yeah. Like while you're here doing niche, I was out here making moves, kind of thing. You can't be preaching.
Yeah, but that wasn't your point. Your point started with preachers with sneakers, and you're saying that some preachers are on there. You know that their trainers are expensive.
Oh, I probably should have added that the people that are on the pages tend to be some of the prosperity people.
Okay, so I was just thinking
I can differentiate between people who are actually sneaker enthusiasts, because it actually like penetrates through their personality and their character, rather than it's just something that they have.
Okay.
Because I can have it, you know.
We've gone to a certain direction. If you get to this part, let us know what you think. Just let us know. I don't have a question. Just let us know. Now, so another thing I wanted us to touch on, which might be a bit controversial, but it was really popping during the days of Clubhouse, RIP Clubhouse. And yeah, I'm not, no. And one thing
I don't know why you're saying no. You were definitely on it.
No, I mean, like, I don't use it anymore.
Oh. Okay.
Also, I've never spoken in any of the rooms. I was just as a pre and leave. But one thing I noticed was there was a growing population of people who would talk about developing their masculine and feminine energy as a way of leveling up.
What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
The bush. So they would like host rooms. So for example, there was this, I think 3 women.
Wait, is this the rooms where they're moaning?
No, that was a different room.
What?
So there was, Jerry, you need to stop. I feel like this podcast is so all over the place. Basically, there was a room hosted by, I would say, madams. And they basically invited men to come on stage to moan sexually for money. I should say it was men that went on there to moan. Some of them had their children in the background, which I thought was particularly disturbing. And whoever made the
disturbing that men are looking after their children.
JIREH, behave. Stop it.
Yeah, so they would moan for money, and whoever, I guess, made the most impactful or satisfying moan would win money. That was the room. I should say I was in that room for less than a minute because I thought the title was a joke because it said "Come and moan for money," or something like that. And then I was like, oh, there's something happening here, because one of my friends was in the room, and then the moaning started. And I fled off the app so quickly. I'm trying to find the name of the room, but actually I don't think that's necessary for a Christian audience to know. Anyway, so there were other rooms on Clubhouse, not about moaning, where some women who have married up, I guess, which is another way of leveling up, right, through marital and shared possession. They would talk about encouraging and teaching and coaching other women on how they can utilize their feminine energy so that they will be palatable to what's that word? Is it high ranking men or high vibrating men? There we go. So to be able to not capture, that sounds very slavish. They're not slave drivers. Yeah, okay, no, to try and make them, basically as a way for them to position themselves to be able to attract high value men. And that's one of the ways that people would level up. So they were talking, I mean, to be honest, I did not take notes, but they did have a very loyal following. And some people do make careers of, you know, of teaching people how to utilize their masculine and feminine energy. I've even heard of like dating apps that you can't get into unless you have a certain net worth. So in terms of like people really striving to get to a certain position so that they can, I guess, build generational wealth, and be comfortable. You guys are a bit silent. I mean, to be honest, I've not been in the rooms about men utilizing their energy, but I think Kevin Samuels does cover a portion of that in his videos. But for the women, it's like looking a certain way, dressing a certain way. So for example, I think they've talked about how like if you have straight hair, you're more likely to attract a certain type of man. If you have curly hair, you're more likely to attract a certain type of man. If you wear a certain type of wig, some men like it. If you have natural hair, some men like or don't like it. So it's like, how do you present yourself? You know, what fragrances do you wear? How do you talk to men? The art of communication. It's very, it's one of the ways that people level up. Thoughts?
Go on, you first, Jereh.
I don't know, because I actually don't know what like masculine and feminine energy.
It's all about vibes.
Yeah, what all that is. And it almost sounds like to me that they're prepping people for other people's preferences. Like, you know, people can like what they like, but they're trying to tailor themselves to a specific kind of person they want. Even if it's not themselves. So that seems a bit counterintuitive, no?
No, it's all about you like you using your feminine wiles. I guess as women of these days, you don't really need to use your quote unquote feminine wiles, because I guess what traditionally men looked for is slightly different to what men look for now, and vice versa, right? So for example, as a woman, you might want a man who is massive and can hunt animals and stuff like that. But nowadays, you know, you can, you know, if you like a skinny lad who works well and is able to provide, that works just as well. So because stuff is changing, but I think they believe that I guess a lot of high value men still want to be in a position where they can still do the traditional male female roles, right? Where the woman looks beautiful, looks after the kids and submits, and the man can really just kind of enforce his high value man thing, because typically a lot of women aren't on that vibe. Okay, I feel like I'm not saying words. Am I making sense to you guys?
You know, I get this. It's not philosophy per se that I'd heard of before, but I just think the focus is on the wrong things in my perspective. The focus there is on the appearance and like, I don't know, what about, how you come across, but are you actually being yourself? What about developing your character and your mindset and what you bring to the table being more than just trophy wife? I don't know. That's the vibe I'm getting from what you're saying. It's not something I'd heard of before, but for me, leveling up to become someone's partner looks like working on my character, and like, which is something that should never stop, right? It's not, yes, also, I don't mean like don't care about your appearance, but if I'm only tailoring my appearance because I want to attract a rich man, that's problematic for me already. Like, what?
I can't lie. That's what some people want. Like, it's like, I need that money. No, please. I don't think I could ever hide my character, even if I wanted to. But I think that is what they are wanting, though, in terms of they want to attract high value men who can provide for them, and so they will tailor themselves to look that certain way. So although to you that's a bad thing, and I'm sure for some people will be like, that's not realistic, that doesn't work, number two, and that's just not sustainable for them. That's their end goal, and that's their way of leveling up in society. Because if you can get yourself in those circles and you can get yourself in those marriages, like if you look at the housewives of whatever shows, those women typically got where they got to because they married a certain type of man. You don't really ever see it happening the other way around. You know, the poorer man marries a well-off woman. Yeah, aside from the Top Shot guy, the one who was in jail with the nice mugshot. Yeah, he's definitely leveled up. But yeah, those are one of the.
So what you're saying is more men need to marry rich women so they can be house husbands and, you know, live their life nice, chilled and relaxed, Why are
Yeah,
you
my
screwing your
spirit
face?
disagrees with that. I love patriarchy when it benefits me. Only when it benefits me. But yeah, okay, so we've been talking for a while, and I think it would be nice to kind of round up. And I think as Christians, obviously we've talked in the different ways that we can level up, and some are, I guess, can be positive, some can be a bit problematic. But I think it's always important for us to think about leveling up, not in a one-dimensional way. It is not bad to level up. It is not bad to think about how you can make your life better, how you can, you know, not be, I guess, stagnant, how you can pursue what can be beneficial for you and for your future generation and for your parents and families and whatever. Those are not bad things at all. But I think it's important that we shift our focus and not just focus on finances, but focus on a rounded kind of way of
leveling up.
Exactly, holistic leveling up. So like Funmi's already said, you know, building a godly character, you know, if let's say you are more finance focused, you know, think, how can I benefit my local community, my local church? If let's say, for example, you've gotten yourself in a very lucrative field, for example, or you're doing something that is great, that's helping you level up, how can you share that with the people around you? Because oftentimes people like to hoard information, and it's like, how can I freely give to support God's people? Also, how can you cultivate good, strong friends and family relationships? So for example, if you see your friends going in a certain direction, encouraging them, you know, if they want to level up, and rather than just seeing, oh, I need to break away from this group and find myself into another group, where we can be in competition with one another. How can I encourage the people around me if I can see they've got hidden talents or gifts that they're not already put into good use, or they don't even realize themselves? But yeah, what do you actually, before, because I was going to say what, let's round up, but no, how do you think you can balance hunger for more and being content?
That's already you first, JIREH.
It all depends on what your desires are for what you want to do. So what you're motivated and driven by. So if it's for a greater good, if you know it's for something, I guess, God ordained, or you know it's something noble, then you generally, when you want to increase that, you'll do it probably the right way. I want to say that some people might commit fraud in doing what they do, or 419, but generally, when you're operating in greed, it's because it's something that you just want to hoard for yourself. You have no other use for it but for yourself. But if you want to expand it out to others and help others, you're more willing to give when it's for others rather than for yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, like, I think it's really important to, I guess, check your heart behind your level up desires. Like, is it because at the end of the day you want to be able to say, look at me, look at what I've done, look at what I've accomplished, me, or is it that you want to be able to point back to God, or to show forth, to give to others and to build other people up through what you've accomplished? And I think also the question you said about balancing, like having desires but also being content, I think there's nothing wrong with having goals and aspirations. In fact, it's important that we have goals and ambitions. We should not be stagnant, but at the same time, that should be balanced with being grateful for what we have, and knowing how to. It's kind of like someone put it, like, don't hold on to where you're at so tightly that you're not also willing to move from there, but don't be stretching for where you're trying to get to so far that you're like despising where you are now. It's about finding a balance, and that's not easy. That's really hard to do, but it's important. Otherwise, you're just always jumping from one thing to the next in place of discontentment. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you guys. I don't really know much else to add. I think definitely checking your heart posture.
Oh yeah, I would say stop listening to Kevin Samuels. That guy's stop listening to people that sit down and talk intimately and repetitively about relationships, who are not married, who aren't in long-term relationships, who know nothing about relationships. It's incredibly boring and quite damaging to the general population. They don't have a degree in clinical psychology, so they don't know the ins and outs of human behavior. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
I also second that as well. Oftentimes people who want to tell you about things don't even seem to know much about it themselves. Don't take relationship advice from people who don't value the people in their lives anyway. Don't take financial advice from someone who's not, number one, never worked a day in their life, or number two, only knows how to earn money through illegal means. It's just common sense. Don't take, like JIREH said, don't take relationship advice from Kevin Samuels. All of his relationships have ended poorly, so take with that what you will. It's the truth. Okay. The parents won't send you to be cheated, by someone who doesn't have their GCSEs. Go to qualified people. Go to people you see around you, the people who you can actually see the fruits of what they've done. Not some weird person across from the internet. And we say that as people on the internet giving you advice.
I
know people are gonna be like, but what credentials do you guys have? Listen, we're just talking,
Yeah, we're talking.
Having a chat.
Yeah, we're just having a chat, because we live the life that we're talking about. So we have to, come from experience with what we're saying. Like, we don't say that we're professionals. We don't talk with the amount of vim that you must listen to everything that we say. That's what those guys do. That's not what we do here. So, yeah.
Can't lie, today I was thinking of Dr. Umar and all the stuff he has to say about the Black family, yet he's married 2 women at the same time. How can you be a present father in 2 households? Houseway. How? Exactly. Is this making you uncomfortable? Good. It should.
It makes sense.
But yeah,
me uncomfortable. You do you, Dr. Umar. Power to the people.
No, remove the power from that man. But yeah, if you've listened thus far, thank you so much. I think this has been a really interesting conversation, and I think a necessary one as we enter the year 2022, although we are still recovering from 2020. A lot of us will be setting goals, whether financial goals, relationship goals, health goals, work goals. I think it's important to think about leveling up and, like Funmi said, have a holistic view of how you'd want to come out of 2022. That isn't just one dimensional. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. Funmi, would you like to share your socials?
Yeah, sure. It's just Funmi95 on Instagram. That's it.
Yeah, it seems to be something about the 1995 people that just like to put 95 in.
Listen.
I'm the same, so.
Why did we do this?
Sorry, ARAMIDE, you're not in the club. It's okay.
I don't want to be in the club. Yeah, I'm not jealous of what's happening in the club.
All right.
Gen Z.
Are you not embarrassed? So embarrassing.
TikTok. I don't know what it is the kids are doing these days.
Your hands are not even convincing right now, ARAMIDE.
TikTok. What else do they like? JJ Siwa.
What?
I don't know what they like. I don't know what
you're stretching. ARAMIDE, let it go. It's okay.
Taylor Swift.
Wow, you sound old.
Yeah.
Hey, old woman, stop it. Stop. Yeah, guys. So yeah, follow us on our socials on Instagram, Twitter, Second Nature Pod, Second Nature Podcast. Leave us a review on Apple Podcast. Don't think you can do that on Spotify. I think you can definitely do it on Google Podcast if you listen to it through there. I've seen the stats. I know some people do. It's really surprising. I didn't even know that was a thing. But each to their own. Yeah, if you disagree or agree with anything that we've said in this episode, let us know. And yeah, once again, Apple, sort out your laptops because what's going on? Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm currently using a MacBook Pro 2015, and that is more stable than a 2021 version. So, what does that say? Yeah.
Yeah. Who's the owner of Apple again?
No. The Illuminati.
Okay, so this is where we're gonna end. Bye everyone. Thanks for listening. God bless.
Bye.
Bye.
Guys, I think you forgot something.
What?
All them things there.
No. I can't start the recording. Can I just say you're the first person who's ever requested it? Should we do it just for me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you like to start, JIREH?
It's in episode 51. If you're listening, we want to say peace,
love,
and contentment,
and
all
all
the things there.
there.
Bye.
That's for you, for me. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.